Hello and welcome to the Longevity with Light webinar. I'm your host, Leslie Klein, and I'm so excited about this wearable light technology that I've been using for over 7 months now. This month, we're diving into the powerful benefits of the glutathione patch. And our special guest tonight is Dr. Jennifer Smith. She's a board certified doctor of naturopathy with expertise in resolving autoimmune conditions. She has over 20 years of experience in the holistic field. But before we get to Dr. Jennifer, let me introduce you to my co host. First, I've got longevity consultant Tamisa Leiden. Welcome, Tamisa.
Hello.
And hello. And LifeWave Executive Director Beth Steele. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here today.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Tamisa if you would please read the disclaimer for us.
I'd be happy to. So first of all, we are not doctors and we are not your doctor, but LifeWave products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. The information we're going to provide is for educational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Individual results may vary, but do consult your health professional before using LifeWave products, especially if you have a medical condition or you are taking medications.
Thank you, Tamisa. So today, as I said, we've got Dr. Jennifer Smith, who is a board-certified doctor of naturopathy with expertise in resolving autoimmune conditions. She's got 20 years of experience in the holistic field, including the operation of a comprehensive wellness center. Dr. Jennifer now offers group wellness workshops and integrative consulting services for medical practitioners. Please welcome Dr. Jennifer Smith.
Hi.
Thank you, Dr. Jennifer. It's so great to have you here today, and with your expertise in autoimmune disease. I'm in the middle of like a flu or something, so I'm really excited to learn what patches I should be wearing. So, Dr. Jennifer, can you tell us how you got into patching? Did you become a naturopath first, and then you got into patching later in your career?
Yeah, so actually, I was introduced to the technology through my hairdresser. And, I had just closed my practice. I was doing some consulting work and some other things. I was just kind of worn out, missing out on my family. I'd been working way too much. And so I decided to make a little shift. And my hairdresser kept telling me about this wonderful technology she had been introduced to. And she knew it worked. She didn't know how it worked, and she couldn't explain it to me. And I just said, as a naturopath, I constantly have people kind of bombarding me, wanting me to try their product or distribute it or whatever. I said, I'm actually interested in yours. I'm just really busy right now. And she kind of kept on me, and she thought that the patches were putting stem cells into you. And I thought, I don't think that's possible. But I was intrigued. I was just very busy doing consulting work, and we had just bought a place at the beach. So it was just one of those things I just kept putting off doing the research. And, finally, several months later, I endured a pretty serious back injury. I actually had a rib out of place, and I could not only feel it if you touched that area, but you could see it protruding. So I just texted her and I said, hey, doesn't that stem cell patch company make a patch specifically for acute pain? And she said, yeah, sure. And that's really how it all happened. The Ice Wave patches brought my pain level down from about an 8 to a 2 in 6 or 7 minutes, and I was sold. I thought, my goodness, if I can help other people get out of pain without the concern of overdose or addiction or liver or kidney toxicity or bone deterioration, sign me up. And so that's really how all this happened. It was just kind of an accident, I guess you might say, that turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely. Now, although we're going to focus on the glutathione patch tonight, can you talk a little bit about the X39, which is our flagship patch?
Okay, yes, of course. It is flagship and foundational. All the patches look the same on the outside. They all come in a sleeve like this, what we call a sleeve, an envelope with 30 patches in each. And yes, X39 is our flagship product. It's very foundational. You can accomplish a lot within the body with that one patch. And basically, the way they work is unlike transdermal patches, such as the birth control patch or the nicotine patch. Those patches are putting, drugs, chemicals, hormones, whatever, into the body through the skin, the dermis that goes into the bloodstream. LifeWave's patches are non-transdermal, so nothing foreign enters the body. They're merely what you call chiral or reflective. And so each of the 10 different patches that LifeWave makes contains a different crystal lattice structure in the middle. And that's the portion on the inside that you can see. And that crystal lattice structure, you can't tell a difference with by the naked eye, but looking under a microscope, the crystal lattice structure inside is formed from just a proprietary blend of stereoisomers, mainly amino acids, but salts, sugars, water, oxygen. And that crystal lattice structure is what knows which wavelengths of light to reflect back into the body, because again, they're non-transdermal, so nothing foreign enters the body. They're just reflecting back specific wavelengths of light that we all naturally emit as mammals. And so in the case of X39, I'll try to give you the short version. It elevates the GHK copper peptide in the body, which we all naturally produce, but it just kind of elevates and optimizes those levels, which in turn reset over 4,000 of our genes to a younger, healthier state. And in the process, reactivates your kind of tired old dormant stem cells that slow down with age. And stem cells are basically the holy grail of healing, repair, and regeneration. So that's kind of the magic of X39. Copper peptides and stem cells are known for producing beautiful, vibrant skin, for, their wound healing properties, for repair and regeneration of injuries, tissues, things like that. And, even cardiovascular health, neurological health. There's, again, like I said, so much you can accomplish with just this one patch. So X39 is foundational, and that this is one patch I will never be without. I will use this patch my entire life from now on.
Wonderful. Now, go ahead and talk about the glutathione patch. I've heard of the glutathione drips that people will get, and I'll let you explain how that works and how it only lasts like a certain amount of time, but that with the glutathione patch, it lasts a lot longer.
Yeah. So, when I found that LifeWave made a glutathione patch that elevates your own endogenous levels of glutathione, your native levels of glutathione, again, I was really blown away. I've always been a big fan of glutathione. It's a molecule that our bodies produce, primarily in the liver, and it's your body's master antioxidant, also your master detoxer. And there are a lot of health conditions associated with glutathione deficiency. And I always say that really just about every health condition out there, except for a handful, really most health conditions boil down to two factors. That's toxicity and deficiency. It's really that simple. And, the toxicity can take on so many different forms, from, environmental pollutants to, what we're eating, toxic food, what is sprayed on our clothing, what is used to clean our homes, the new car smell you hear about, that's very toxic, even toxic emotions. So many, many forms of toxicity. And then on the deficiency side, there are many forms of deficiencies. It can be water deficiency, sleep deficiency, exercise deficiency, nutrient deficiency, love deficiency, sunshine deficiency, so many forms of toxicity and deficiency. And glutathione really kind of helps with both of those. And So, I mean, you can even just go online, you can just Google diseases associated with glutathione deficiency, and you will find things like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, cancer, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, autism, cardiovascular disease, naturally liver disease as well, because that's where your glutathione is produced. Trying to think of if I'm forgetting anything. Really autoimmune conditions, HIV, those are all associated with glutathione deficiency. And so, like stem cells, as we age, our glutathione levels decline, but also there are other factors besides just age that deplete our stores of glutathione or our production of glutathione. So, for example, stress can do that. If you lead a high stress lifestyle, you're going to be deficient in glutathione. Diet. We don't get a lot of glutathione from diet, but certain foods can help support our natural production of glutathione. Things like cruciferous vegetables, for example, those sulfuric compounds like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, leafy greens, kale. Those foods can support our body's natural ability to produce glutathione. But as far as getting glutathione supplementation, when someone has a chronic health condition, for example, if you were to go to one of the high-end holistic cancer clinics in Mexico, for example, they're most likely going to give you a glutathione IV, probably on a very regular basis, maybe every single day that you're there. And not that I'm against that. If you need it, you need it. However, it's invasive, IV form. It's expensive. If the molecule size isn't just right, it's not going to permeate the cell membrane and go to where it needs to go. And then also you have to be careful, because sometimes some of the, what do you call them? The IV drip bars that have popped up in recent years. There are other additives to what is being injected into you via IV. So there could be aluminum, there could be polyethylene glycol, other undesirable ingredients. So, again, if you need an IV of it, you need it, but, there are some drawbacks to that. You can also get glutathione supplements in capsule form, but that's a bit of a waste because your stomach acid eats up about 80% of it. So you're not left with a whole lot there. There are glutathione suppositories. No, thank you. A lot of the cancer clinics will recommend coffee enemas. And the reason for that is because the coffee, being inserted rectally, what that does is it triggers your liver's ability to produce more glutathione. And so, again, not my favorite, but if I had to do it, I would do it. In my practice, I used to carry a liposomal form of glutathione, a nano-emulsified and liposomal that you would squirt in your mouth. And everybody hated it. It was a superior product, but it was very expensive. It had to be refrigerated and it tasted horrible. So that's why everyone hated it. So when I found out LifeWave made a patch to elevate your own native levels of glutathione, that was huge for me. And then I looked at the clinical studies for the patches, and with glutathione, in the study there, the participants, the average level, the average increase of glutathione levels that the participants experienced from patching was about 300% over a 24-hour period. So even though you only wear the patches for 12 hours on and 12 hours off, after you remove the glutathione patch, your liver is still producing optimal levels of glutathione for approximately another 12 hours. And as a matter of fact, one of the women in the study, her glutathione levels increased by over 600%. So, obviously she really needed it. Her body was doing what it was designed to do. So the patches, again, they're not putting anything into the body. They're just helping your body to do what it naturally should be doing on its own anyway.
Gotcha. Now, who would you recommend who should wear the glutathione patch? Like, what issue would I be working on where I would want to have the glutathione patch? For instance, I'm fighting a cold, flu right now.
Okay.
I've been working with the glutathione, putting it on, right here. But
Mhm.
what advice would you give to
That's
someone?
exactly where I've got my glutathione patch today. I have a lot going on and kind of running around the clock right now with some things. So I feel that that has helped me because when I look back, I had a death in the family and was a caretaker for a person. So I went for several weeks on hardly any sleep. I still don't know how I did it. And in the past, I would have been sick by now. And I really think the glutathione patch is what has really helped me through that. I feel fine. I feel great, surprisingly. But really, I think anybody can benefit from glutathione if you're American, if you have a pulse, and especially if you eat the standard American diet. I mean, it's shocking. Half of what Americans eat, apply to their skin, or clean their homes with has been banned in other countries. So we're really a toxic nation. And so glutathione, some of the many benefits is, yes, it helps promote optimal immune function, because after all, a lot of the health conditions associated with glutathione levels are associated with poor immune function. And so it can help boost immunity, and it can also help remove all kinds of toxins from our environment, from our food, things like heavy metals, even mercury. It can help flush that out of the body. Pesticides, which are, pretty much everywhere. Pesticides, herbicides, even mold. There's, mold problems, especially in the summertime. Gosh, food additives, all kinds of gunk, for lack of a better word. So glutathione, again, is your master antioxidant and your master detoxer, helps destroy free radicals, which cause disease. So it really is kind of an all-around catch-all that really anyone can benefit from. But for a person who really doesn't have any health problems at all, and they just want to maintain health and longevity, you could wear the glutathione patch every other day. That's what I do. But for someone who has a health condition they're struggling with, such as, an autoimmune condition or something very serious, cellular dysfunction, because this gets down to a cellular level, I would recommend definitely using the glutathione patch every single day. And the glutathione patch is no joke either. It's very powerful, and so you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water in the process. You definitely don't want to be dehydrated. So at least half your weight in ounces per day is a good rule of thumb for water when patching, and especially with the glutathione patch. So 12 hours on, 12 hours off while fully hydrated.
I was going to ask how often, because I read that 3 to 5 days a week is a good uh, time to start, or every other day, because if you do it every day to start with, it might be too much and your body might have a healing crisis because you're detoxifying too fast.
Yeah, that can happen. It doesn't happen with most people, but it definitely can happen. And in fact, it happened to my husband. It was the second day he was on it, and he was involved in a pretty horrible freak accident about 5 years ago, where he underwent several back-to-back surgeries under general anesthesia. And when I was introduced to the patches, I thought, oh my goodness, this is great. This will be a great way to help my husband detox from all that he had been through. And by day two, he came up to me and said, "Gosh, I don't feel good. These patches are making me sick." And I said, "Well, what's wrong?" And he's like, I have it kind of headachy and kind of nausea, kind of nauseous. I kind of almost feel like, I'm sick, like I've got the flu coming on or something. And I asked him, I said, "Are you drinking water?" And he's like, "Yeah." Well, I went into his office where I had sat a glass of water down when I gave him the patch several hours prior. And I think he had drank about an inch from the glass. So it is very important to be well hydrated, especially with the glutathione patch. I always tell people half your weight in ounces per day is a good rule of thumb. So in other words, a 150-pound person would drink 75 ounces of water per day. That's a good rule of thumb. And if you consume beverages with caffeine or alcohol, you need to drink even more water to make up for what those have depleted you of. But despite that, sometimes people still can have a bit of a detoxing effect with the glutathione patch. And if that's the case, you can back off and maybe start at maybe 6 hours a day, 6 hours on and 12 hours off, or well, whatever, in a 24-hour cycle. So I guess it would be 18 hours off. So just wear the patch for maybe 6 hours the first day. Then if that goes all right, then the second day you could reuse that same patch and maybe try to go up to about 7 hours the next day, and then toss it, and then maybe a day later, or you can even skip a day and then try 8 hours, and so on and so forth, and just work your way up. So that would be another way to kind of get over that feeling of too much of a detox, maybe a healing crisis, is just start smaller or slower or shorter amount of time.
You mentioned something interesting about wearing the patch for 6 hours and then taking it off and using the same patch.
Yeah.
I had questions about that. If you could do that, like when you take it off your body, then the patch stops working.
It does, absolutely. So the patches are activated by your body heat and light. So all mammals, we all emit light from our cells. And in fact, from the moment of conception, when an egg and a sperm meet, a flash of light occurs. And so for the rest of your life, your cells emit light, which is exactly why hunters and, even the military uses night vision goggles to track their soldiers. And those night vision goggles are picking up on the low level infrared light that our bodies naturally emit. And so, by wearing the patches for a full 12 hours on a warm, 98-degree body, they're going to start to break down after a while, because again, it's all organic materials in that patch. Like I said, mostly amino acids, but some salts, sugar, water, oxygen. And so they're going to break down after a while. But so if you wear a patch for, let's say, 6 hours, let's say you want to take it slow with glutathione, you can remove that patch after 6 hours. And I recommend just placing it in a water glass, something like this, only maybe half the size. You can just pop it down in an empty glass and maybe put a towel over it so it's not exposed to heat and light, and keep it away from your body, because the patches are activated if they're within just a few, even a few inches of your body. So as long as you store it away from any human, any mammal, I should say, and then the following day you can reapply that patch, and there's still going to be some left in it because it's not activated until it's near a body.
Okay, great. I'm going to bring our co-hosts up, uh, Tamisa and Beth, because I know they have questions for you as well. So, Tamisa, I know you had a question about your son who's a firefighter and the
Right.
toxins.
So, Dr. Jennifer, thank you so much for that in-depth information. I have really felt like glutathione. People need to detox, whether
Yep.
they do a cleanse or what have you. So, this is like the miracle patch that does it all for you. And so, I have a couple questions, but the one most important, my son being a firefighter, they're taking in toxins and plastics and heavy metals, and
Indeed.
yeah, they get a lot of beaten up on the job. So what would you recommend for them, other than they should always wear their mask and their oxygen or ventilator in some degree? But what would you recommend if someone were to start on like the X39 Eon, and then how soon would they go to using the glutathione?
Yeah, sometimes I do recommend that people start with X39 and Eon, the dynamic duo. I already explained how X39 works by elevating the GHK copper peptide to reactivate your stem cells. And the Eon patch, oh gosh, another wonderful patch. Eon, and I'll try to condense this, but it elevates your endogenous SOD levels, which is short for superoxide dismutase, which is another powerful antioxidant, not quite as powerful as glutathione, but still wonderful. So it elevates superoxide dismutase, also known as SOD, and it's also known for two other very important factors: lowering stress levels by helping to balance the autonomic nervous system, so that's sympathetic fight, flight, or freeze versus parasympathetic rest, digest, repair. It helps balance that. Basically tells your adrenal glands that sit back on top of your kidneys, chill out. Tamisa's had enough cortisol for one day. So it just kind of helps bring your body back into balance. And the other very important benefit of the Eon patch is that it helps lower inflammation. It is a broad spectrum anti-inflammatory, and it even raises, or, I'm sorry, it even lowers inflammatory markers like C-reactive proteins. So people with cardiovascular disease or rheumatoid arthritis, those kind of chronic health conditions, they always have high C-reactive proteins, which can contribute to heart attack and stroke and a myriad of other problems. So if you can, help reduce stress levels, elevate SOD, and lower inflammation, that can help clear the pathway for your newly reactivated stem cells from X39. So that's why we call these two the dynamic duo. You can just accomplish so much with these two patches. One of the many side benefits of X39, and we don't do side effects here, we only do side benefits, so which is great. And X39 patch elevates your endogenous levels of glutathione by about 30%. So it's nowhere near the average 300% that the actual glutathione patch elevates. But that's why I do recommend kind of easing into it, because for some people, not a lot, but for some people, that just little elevation of 30% of glutathione levels, that can kind of throw people for a loop. It just depends on your levels of toxicity. And, like you mentioned, the plastics and all kinds of heavy metals and things that firefighters, flame retardants, oh my gosh, don't even... I'll try not to go too far off there, but yeah, firefighters, even hairdressers, I mean, they are among some of the most toxic, dangerous jobs, professions. As a matter of fact, in my practice, before I discovered the patches, I would give firefighters free detox sessions from this ionic detox system that I had, only for firefighters. I did for. So yeah, tell your son thank you for his service. However, he needs to take care of himself. So yeah. With that being said, I would definitely start right here, X39 and Eon, and probably about a month, start with this. X39 is recommended for daytime use because yet another side benefit is increased energy levels. So you want to experience that during the daytime, unless your son is on the night shift. I don't know. In that case, he may want to flip-flop the time that he wears it. Eon is one of the patches that can be worn day or night. And I love that about Eon. Some of it's personal preference, but I always tell people, if you're the type of person that goes to bed tired and the moment your head hits the pillow, the monkey mind kicks in and you start trying to solve all the world's problems, you might want to wear Eon at night, because again, you're helping to balance that autonomic nervous system, and it just provides a sense of calm. So I might start there, maybe X39 during the daytime, maybe Eon at night. Try that for about a month, and then introduce glutathione and maybe have him wear it every other day to start. But then after a while, depending upon how much he works, I might probably wear the glutathione patch every day if it were me.
Well, thank you for that. And, we got to love a firefighter and a hairdresser, right? We got to take care of them.
Oh, you're a hairdresser. Oh, my goodness.
No, but we got to love our hairdresser and our firefighters.
Yeah, exactly. We got to love on our firefighters and hairdressers, 100%. Yes, absolutely.
Get them healthy.
Yes, indeed. They're important.
Yeah. Now, Beth, I know you had a question.
Yeah.
Peptides or...
Well, I was thinking, I've heard pros and cons for both wearing the glutathione during the day or at night. So that was my first question, if you recommend one or the other. And the second one being, I've heard with the drips, the statistics are much less than what they are with the patch. And also there's like a half-life thing, if you have any statistics around that. So those are
great question. So, with regard to the half-life on glutathione drips, it's about 7 minutes. So you get this surge of it, and then that's pretty much it. Where the glutathione patch is going to elevate your own endogenous levels and kind of provide more of a constant stream. And I have always said for years, don't take it if you can make it. So for example, whether it's vitamin D, you're always going to be better off to step out into the sun and trigger your body's own ability to produce vitamin D versus taking a supplement. Now, if you've had rain in your region for days on end, sure, take a supplement. But so that's just one example. And it's the same thing with glutathione. If you can only get it through IV, you're very, very ill, then by all means. But if you can elevate your own endogenous levels with the glutathione patch, maybe throw in a few cruciferous vegetables at the same time, that is, it's always going to be more bioavailable that way. And then I'm so sorry. What was your first question? I should have answered that first.
That's okay. Day or night for
Day
the,
or night,
for the 12
you
hours?
technically you can wear the glutathione patch day or night. I personally recommend it for daytime use. And the reason why is because when your body is releasing toxins, so glutathione is your master antioxidant, your master detoxer. It's also a safe chelator. So, there are some forms of chelation where, chelation therapy is, there are different methods that grab on, that bind to heavy metals. So you can flush them out of the body. So a lot of times people with cancer or heart disease will get chelation therapy, and it can be really intense. Like some people just can't take it. And because glutathione is a safe chelator, when your body releases toxins, your lymphatic system is the final exit way. It's your final sewage system in the body. And you've got more lymphatic fluid in your body than you have blood. Most people don't realize that. You've got lymphatic fluid throughout your entire body, and you've got the highest concentration of lymph nodes in your neck, your armpits, and your groin area. But unlike your blood, your cardiovascular system that has a pump, your lymphatic system does not. And so the only time your lymphatic fluid is moving is if you're moving. I mean, you can do dry brushing and, there's some herbs and things you can use, but really your lymphatic system is only moving when you're moving. So that's why I recommend the glutathione patch during the daytime, because the majority of the glutathione levels are going to be increased during, the hours that you're wearing the patch. Those first 12 hours are going to be the highest levels. And so I like to elevate it during the daytime while you're moving your body so you can flush it out, because when you're sleeping, hopefully you're not moving around too much while you're sleeping. So that's just,
when you have the Eon on, then
that's right. You're sleeping sound like a baby. You got that right.
Oh, that is so good to know. Thank you. Because sometimes I alternate it. Sometimes I'll wear it at night, sometimes during the day, or I've heard somebody say, "Oh, I want to have my detox symptoms happen at night when I'm not feeling them." So that information is awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that would be another option, really, if somebody is experiencing, Herxheimer or, like a detox, difficulty with it. They could wear it at night, but, just until they get over that hump. But I'm a big fan of wearing it during the daytime.
Thank you. I love knowing that. Thank you.
Dr. Jennifer, I just have to say, we're a little over time, but we have a doctor every month on here with us. And I just have to say, you're one of my favorites because your voice is almost healing.
Oh, gosh.
Lisa, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions?
I think you covered it all entirely.
I feel like I'm forgetting something. Sometimes I start out with the assumption that everybody knows what glutathione is, and I obviously you ladies do, but not everyone does. But yeah, your master antioxidant, your master detoxer. It is a peptide. It's actually a tripeptide. So it's made of 3 peptides. So glutamine, cysteine, glycine. Yeah, so it's made with those 3 peptides, and so it's a tripeptide, and it's incredible. You can do so much, and another thing that I love about it is it's directly tied to longevity. Your glutathione levels are, and if you've heard of the book, The Blue Zones, I actually have it here on my bookshelf. I can't locate it right now, but it's called The Blue Zones. And it was written years ago, and they turned it into a movie, a documentary. And then Netflix picked it up as a series. I think it was like a 7-part series. And what it was there was a man who was fascinated to learn that there were areas throughout the world where people commonly learn to be, or commonly live to be centenarians, 100 years old or beyond. And they were living good lives. They were healthy. And so he identified them on a map, and he used blue push pins to identify those regions. And at the time, there were 5 of them. There are now 6. And he went and visited those regions. And they were in other countries. There's only one in the US, and then the others were in like Italy, Greece, Japan. I'm trying to remember where else. I know we need to wrap it up here, but he studied their culture and everything. And what one of the many things that they had in common is that they all had higher levels of glutathione. So directly tied to longevity. So I love the glutathione patch. I am so grateful that LifeWave makes a glutathione patch that elevates your own endogenous levels without having to take it in supplement form. And, it's non-invasive, and it's very cost effective as well. So, I love it. I think everybody should wear a glutathione patch at least a few days a week.
I love your passion about it. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jennifer.
Thank you.
This has been very eye-opening, and we could go on for another hour, but we do try to keep these short so people do stick with us and watch all of the information.
Well,
So thank you so much
all,
for
ladies. You
spending
do all
time
do
with
such
us
a
today.
great job. And thank you for helping get this valuable information out to others.
Yes, you
You're
too.
very welcome.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
So next, let me make us a little bit smaller. I bet that. So next month on August 14th is our next Longevity with Light webinar. And if you want to sign up, just go to www.tinyurl.com/longevity August 2025 with the L and the A capitalized. And we are going to be talking about the Ice Wave patch, which has to do with taking care of pain. So thank you, ladies, so much for being with us tonight. And to the audience, to get your hands on these patches, please contact the person who invited you to this webinar, and we will see you next month. Take care.
Good night, everyone.
Okay.